copywritten production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Good morning. Will you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome to our January 23rd, 2023 first meeting of the year. I'm John Nowakowski, the President of the Board of Directors. This regular meeting of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Board of Directors is audio and video recorded by the RCSC management and staff. Please be advised that there will be no recording of this meeting by any individual. Please take out your cell phones and electronic devices and check them to make sure that they're in the silent mode. Hopefully, I will remember to tell you to turn them on, because if you're like me, you forget. I would like to introduce our timekeeper and management personnel. Tracy, our timekeeper. Bill Cook, our general manager. Kevin McCurdy, Director of Finance. Mike Whiprud, Director of Building Infrastructure. Brian Duthu, Director of Golf and Grounds. Joelle Higgins. Chris Herring, Director of Operations. Polly, I got Polly down here somewhere. I missed her. Polly Fields? No. Down here. Right here. Polly Corsino. We have Teresa Sereno up in the booth. And we have Ellen Kleinhans, Carla Young, our audio and visual engineers. Did I miss anybody? Oh, she's hiding way in the corner over there. Good morning. Good morning, all. Order of business. First item of business is the roll call of the voting members by Secretary Totten and quorum confirmation. Secretary Totten.
Thank you. President Nowakowski.
Here.
Vice President Collins.
Here.
Treasurer Fast.
Here.
I'm here. Director Leniski.
Here.
Director Lear.
Here.
Director Nichols. Excuse me, not yet. Director McAdam.
Here.
Director Fimmel.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum.
First order of business.
Father time.
On behalf of the RCSC Board of Directors, should we use the mic?
Yeah.
Let's use the mic. On behalf of the RCSC Board of Directors, I congratulate you on your appointment to the Recreational Centers of Sun City Board of Directors. The RCSC Board of Directors has placed their trust in your leadership, experience, and judgment. We gratefully acknowledge your willingness to accept the responsibility of conducting the affairs of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated for the year 2023, with your term ending on December 31st, 2023. During your board tenure, you will be required to serve numerous, varying, and conflicting interests. Know from the start that you will never satisfy all those interests despite your best efforts. Do your best to be consistent, knowing confidently that you are helping all of us be proud of Sun City. The oath of office. Do you pledge to follow the law which imposes fiduciary responsibilities to ensure that the power is exercised consistently? Its fiduciary duty requires board members to act in the best interest and for the benefit of the corporation. This fiduciary duty has two components: to act within board authority to apply the business judgment rule. The business judgment rule additionally requires board members to exercise two more fiduciary duties: the duty of care and the duty of undivided loyalty.
I will.
Do you pledge to uphold the corporation's articles of incorporation and the corporation bylaws and board policies?
I will.
Do you pledge to uphold the mission, vision, and value of the recreation centers of Sun City?
I will.
On behalf of all of us, I wish you success in this undertaking. Thank you and welcome. Secretary Totten, would you ask Director Nichols if he's here?
I will.
Yeah.
You read my mind. Director Nichols, are you here?
Yes.
Thank you. We now have a
Thank
total
you.
quorum.
The first order of business is the approval of the agenda. I would like to ask if there are any questions on the agenda as presented. Having no questions, the agenda is approved. The next item is the minutes of the December 15, 2022 meeting, which were posted for the director's review. Are there corrections to the minutes as presented? I have one. On page 3, second paragraph, Mr. Marone, his name is misspelled. It's M-A-R-O-N-E. Page 3, second paragraph. Any other corrections? Hearing none, the minutes are accepted as presented. Thank you. Treasurer's report. I would now like to ask if there are any questions on the treasurer's report. Hearing no questions. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I have a couple of questions. One is that, let's see, in the statement of income and expenses, there is just an item that I'm curious about under other expenses, insured, uninsured losses. We had anticipated none, and we have a loss there of $3707. Do we have any clarification about what that entailed?
President Nowakowski, Director McAdam. Actually, offhand, I don't know what that is, but I can certainly research that and get back to you today.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind staying there, I have a couple of other questions as well. So the carry forward that's listed here, is, I'm looking for the details right now, is 9.9 million.
Correct.
At the December treasurer's report, it was 10.7 million. So there's been a drop in that of $0.8 million. And I know this is a little bit complicated because carry forward isn't a separate account that we keep.
Correct.
But I believe it is true that any carry forward funds can only be expended with prior board approval. Is that correct?
Correct, but the carry forward number is calculated based on what our cash, our checking account balance is, less any unspent capital project money. So that number is fluctuating on a monthly basis depending on what kind of cash we have in the bank at any point in time. So any changes in accounts receivable, accounts payable is going to have an impact on that carry forward number.
So how do we distinguish when the board has to be asked for approval for spending from that as opposed to when it's not?
So anything that would be spending above and beyond what's budgeted would go to you, would go to the board for approval.
Okay, we have just this question about how our capital projects are, it seems like you've told me before that they are budgeted, but they sort of aren't budgeted because we use whatever excess we have to pay for that, and if not, we dip into our carry forward, correct?
So the entire list of capital projects is distributed and voted on and approved by the Budget and Finance Committee and then the full board. That's part of the budget package that was circulated and discussed at the Budget and Finance meeting. There's a specific list of projects, each of which has an individual budget that's been circulated and approved. I'm happy to send that. I sent it to Director Totten a couple weeks ago. I'm happy to recirculate that, but we have a very specific list of capital projects that we circulate and approve as part of the budget process.
Right, so I am aware of that. I've seen that list. It's just that it's not typical for the Finance and Budget Committee to actually look at any of those in any detail whatsoever. They're approving a large budget, and that happens to be a few lines of a 30-page document otherwise. But my question then, I guess, is why, if we have that budgeted, it's approved, but there are no dollar amounts attached to those, so that we end up being able to just dip into whatever our excess is in order to be able to pay those. I'm still confused by that.
So each capital project on that list has a budgeted dollar amount associated with it. And so we are held to that budget number as we complete these projects. And that's part of the budget package that was approved by the committee and the board. So I guess I don't understand the question about whether or not there's a dollar amount associated with each capital project. That is certainly part of that list. Each project has a budgeted amount, and for 2023, that total for all of those capital projects is about $3.7 million. So we do have a dollar budget associated with each project that we are required to adhere to.
But that 3.7 isn't budgeted in the overall 2023 budget as an item that has an account that it's going to come from, right?
Right. So capital projects will never go through the income statement. They go directly onto the balance sheet. However, as part of the budget, we do show, here's the excess that we're generating. Here's what the capital project budget is. For 2023, we didn't generate, or we're not budgeting to generate sufficient excess to cover 100% of the capital project budget. That's why we indicated in the reporting that we were going to have to dip into carry forward by about $2 million for 2023. Now that's budget. In 2022, as an example, we also budgeted the need to dip into carry forward for capital projects, but we generated $3.5 million in excess in 2022, so we don't need to go into carry forward in 2022 for our capital projects. We actually generated sufficient funds above and beyond that to more than cover our capital projects, which is great. It's fantastic news. But for 2023, what we're budgeting is we'll have to dip in to carry forward by about $2 million to complete all of the capital projects on our list.
Okay, thank you.
General Manager Cook.
President Okowski, Board of Directors, Director McAdam, if I could also add, so with the 3707, that's an expense, a credit to the expense. So it's actually an income, and I believe what that's associated with is when we get insurance payouts. If we happen to spend less than what the insurance payout was, it will end up being a credit in that line item. So I believe that's what it is, but Kevin can confirm that. Secondarily, with respect to the 2022 carry forward, we budgeted, I believe, to take out $1.2 million from the carry forward, and actually I think we're going to end up putting in 1.7, something to that number, to that effect, 700. So we actually were very much favorable to, actually taking out from the carry forward. And then in the 4 years I've been here, we've always budgeted to take out monies from the carry forward to cover our capital expenses, and we've always beaten the budget and actually put back and added back into the carry forward, which is the same as we've done for this year. Now, as Kevin had stated, 2023, we've again budgeted to pull out about $2 million from carry forward to cover capital expenditures, which was approved by the board. So thank you.
Thank you.
General Manager Cook? Am I on? Okay. You said that you use, in the 4 years you've been here, you use the carry forward. Could you repeat that statement?
Director Totten, in the 4 years, we've budgeted to utilize funds from the carry forward, but we've every year that I've been here, and I believe probably for 3 years prior to that, we've actually added back to the carry forward. When I started here, I believe the carry forward was $4 or $5 million, and now we're at over 10. We're at 10.7, I believe. So.
So what happens if you come to a year when you have no carry forward, and what then do you do?
Well, right now we typically budget. We have a deficit budget. We would not be able to budget. From a deficit perspective, we would have to. Have a balanced budget in terms of operational expenses, including capital. So whatever we take in from an assessment perspective that's what our budget would be from an operations perspective. Assessments and host punch cards and guest cards, but which are as well as golf revenue and bowling revenue. So revenues associated with the divisions which is the revenue we would have to live with. We would not be able to deficit spend.
Okay, thank you.
General Manager Cook. I see a lot of deer in the headlights look. Can we put that into English?
President Okowski,
what I'm saying is the expenditures, as long as we meet the budget, we don't have to cut into our carry forwards.
That's correct. So our income statement is based off of bowling revenue, golf revenue, assessment revenue, host punch cards, guest passes. So that is our revenue stream. And so that is and the assessments. So that is our revenue stream that we have from an operational perspective, which also includes capital spending. So whatever we bring in with those sources of revenue is what would be we would be limited to in terms of our spend if we had no carry forward. Is that clear?
Yep, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? The treasurer's report is filed for audit. Next item is the management report. Are there any questions or comments on the management report? Karen?
In terms of the IT report, it looks like we were hoping for some important improvements in mid and late January. So I think we're sort of into late January. Can you give us an update of where we are on that?
President Okowski. Director McAdam. We've had a bit of a delay in terms of upgrading the server and storage environment. We were planning to utilize the same server room that we use now in the warehouse, but because of additional power needs from the new equipment, rather than spending a whole lot of money to upgrade the facility at the warehouse, we've decided to move that server room into a room on the second floor at Lakeview where the ceramics used to be. So we're in the process right now of having that server room built out. There's electrical work that's necessary. There's a new fire suppression system that's necessary. That work is starting this month. It should take about 30 to 45 days to complete. And then we're going to be installing the new server and storage equipment in the new server room. And then we'll be able to roll that upgrade project out.
Okay, does that mean that what's in the management report is actually just outdated, or the management report says that this is for January 26th? It says that Cox will deliver a dedicated connection to Lakeview Lanes in the middle of January and is scheduling the new direct connection to the Lakeview server room in late January. Is that?
So that's one component of the project. That is rerouting the connection from Cox. From the warehouse where it currently goes, where the existing server room is.
Yeah.
We have to run a new connection directly to Lakeview, and that's that particular component of the overall server room project, is getting that Cox internet connection delivered to the new server room location as opposed to the warehouse.
Okay, but we don't have any hopes that that's going to happen before the end of the month.
The bowling
is that
alley
correct?
connection is completed, and they're
Okay.
literally today working on the delivery to Lakeview. I'm hoping that that's done this week.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. President?
Yep.
Have we received the access points that we need to? No. He said,
And-
he shook his head no.
No. We have not received the access point yet. Any other questions?
I have.
Go ahead. Director Totten.
I believe on the PIF budget that was passed in the year 2034 or 35, we were going to go through a complete demolition of Lakeview. So does what you're investing in moving the server room to Lakeview, is that like a drop in the bucket? Was that like the best place considering what's going to happen?
Director Totten, the equipment that we're installing in the new server room, if it lasts 10 years, I'd be absolutely shocked. So what we're installing now is probably going to take us 5 years down the road before we have to go through another, complete replacement of our, IT environment. So looking down the road at a 2035 demo of Lakeview or potential demo of Lakeview, I think that is way further down the road time-wise than the equipment that we're installing now is going to be able to last us. So I'm not particularly concerned about that.
Mr. President?
General Manager Cook.
President Okowski, Director Totten, as well, if I could add to that, the PIF budget also has the admin building prior to the entire Lakeview facility, and I, thinking out loud, the best place for the admin, which prior to me even coming here, I believe that where the warehouse is today, that was the plan, is to have the admin building there as a standalone, and so therefore actually moving anything out of the warehouse space and in that area actually facilitates that process as well. So,
Mr. President?
Director Fimmel.
I am aware, Mr. Cook, but for the members, I just want to confirm that the Phase 2 funding for the IT program is in place.
President Okowski, Director Fimmel, yes, we budgeted $500,000 this year for Phase 2 of the IT project.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? The management report has been accepted with the questions that have been asked. Thank you, General Manager Cook, for the management report. We have no committee reports. The next item is the Recreational Center Update Report from General Manager Cook. We move this to our business meeting versus the member exchange meeting. If it doesn't seem to work, we can move it back, but we thought we'd try this at this meeting and see how it goes.
Thank you, President Olkowski, Board of Directors, members. So I'll go through this quickly. So finance. So year-to-date, 22, so this was supposed to be done back in the beginning of the month. So this is actually the November details, so we just actually finalized the year. So 22.4 million favorable to budget by, favorable by 1.7 million. Again, golf is driving a majority of this favorability, and our operating expenses of 17.7 is on budget. Net operating excess of 4.2 million is 1.6 favorable to budget. I believe we finished the year at 1.7 million favorable to budget. IT processed 97 service requests, 1,344 year-to-date, which is a major feat. HR filled 22 job recs in November and 261 year-to-date. Building and infrastructure, 333 work orders completed, so a total of 4,000 work orders completed by roughly, Mike, what's your staff? 9. So we have 9 people completing 4,000 work orders. Mountain View phases 1 and 2, so we've spent 139,000. So we're shooting for April 2024 groundbreaking. So we completed the construction contract. So we have Alston Construction on board, and so we actually have a meeting on Monday coming up with CCBG and Alston. So our architect and our construction our construction company, as well as our staff, we're going to go meet and have a kickoff and get this project rolling. Sun Bowl, so we spent 11,000. We want to start construction in second quarter of 2023 and complete at the end of this year. So we did the high-level design was delivered. I believe we're looking for the complete architectural and civil designs. I believe those are forthcoming, and then we'll submit plans to the county. So we've only have $50,000 that was approved from a budget perspective. Oh, I'm sorry, never mind. I'm jumping ahead here. So, then we'll develop the construction bid and award the construction contract. So this is Sun Bowl softball. Viewpoint Lake, budget of 757,000 spent of the 8 million that's budgeted. So again, you've seen the rain that we've had, so it has delayed it to some extent, but the wall demolition is going very well. If you just go out and take a look at the lake, you'll see that a lot of that wall has been taken down, and now they're starting to pile up the sediment for removal. So, and then we actually have the next meeting with the homeowners on February 2nd. Thank you. And it will be at Fairway, so just be noted, and we will communicate that. Best Friends Dog Club, so we proposed a temporary spot, and that was not accepted by the dog club. Basically, from a size perspective, it was felt that it was not big enough. So we're going through right now the next PIF budget, so we're going to try and put that into the next PIF budget. My plan is to have that to you by the next board meeting, so the February board meeting. Clay Club at Marinette, so we spent 23,000. We got 340,000 budgeted for that. So the electrical equipment is, is a big delay here. So we ordered the equipment, but there's a long lead time there. So, we ordered that electrical panel, and then we removed some wall space. I've received some emails from the club. They're happy with the progress. Mike's communicating with them, so I think things are going well. We've ordered the kilns, and then we'll finalize the construction contract. The Quilters Club over at Grand, so we are on schedule to complete that in March. And so if you've been over there, you can take a look at what's going on, but cement's down, and the walls and the cabinets are going up, so we're on schedule there. Golf, 7.1 favorable to budget by 1.4 million. Again, outside play is driving a lot of that. Expenses of 5.9, favorable to budget by 119,000, so they're doing well from an expense perspective as well as the top line. Their year-to-date excess of 1.1 is 1.5 favor to budget. So we expected a loss in golf by this time, and they're actually showing an excess, which this year will be the first year that they've been able to cover their capital expenses through their operating budget. So, good year for golf. 31,000 rounds, 322. Year-to-date, I believe we ended up at 355 for the year, 355,000 rounds for the year, so good year. Bowling, they're having a great year too. Income of 842, favorable to budget by 105,000, so we've got open and tournament bowling that's driving that. Year-to-date operating expenses of 647 is on budget, so they're right on budget with respect to their expenses. Excess of 155 is 95,000, favorable to budget. Their lineage was 29, almost 30,000 year-to-date, and 277,000 lines bowled year-to-date. And just remember, we're trying to do as much as we can with the utilization of the bowling alley. So Angry Birds bowling on Saturday has been popular. I encourage everybody to go ahead and see what that's all about. Operations, Duffyland Dog Park access control was rolled out. 700 access tokens were distributed. The Bell Fitness equipment upgrade is actually, I'm going to update this. So due to the infrastructure issues and not having the access control or access points, so we want to make sure that when we roll out this new equipment, it has all this great technical aspects to it in terms of having, streaming, live streaming video and such. And so we want to make sure that we can fully utilize that equipment. We don't want to put it in there and then not have it be fully utilized and people be disappointed. So we're waiting until the access points are there and that we have the right infrastructure to be able to utilize that equipment. But we do have the equipment on hand. Sundial custodial staff has been busy supporting the Fall Arts and Crafts Festival, the holiday parties. So all this setup, has been done by, our great staff. The cardholder survey went out. I believe we have over 5,000 returns, so we're at 17%. So we think we're going to be over 20% return rate with respect to the survey. Events and entertainment, so Veterans Day tribute was November 6th. Sun City concert band took place, and as well as the Sun City Women's Chorus, Arts and Crafts Festival, the holiday party. We raised over $6,000, nearly $6,000 for our foundation, so that was a great success. So that's it. Thank you, guys.
Any questions of General Manager Cook?
I just had one.
Oh. Director Alera beat you to it.
Okay, thank you. Actually, not a question for Mr. Cook, but just a comment on this. We get a very detailed management report. I think that this presentation was designed for the members in particular, and having it at this venue eliminates the opportunity for members to come forward and question. So my humble opinion, I think we should push that back so that members have an opportunity to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Director, Vice President Collins.
There was discussion online with us about the Italian Fest. Are we going forward with that?
So Vice President Collins, President Olkowski, directors, yes, we are moving forward with that. Do you want me to give a 2-minute?
Yeah,
yes, please.
Okay. So a year ago, our events and entertainment director, Teresa Serino, and I were brainstorming about how we can do new things for our membership, new and exciting things. And so Teresa has done a great job of doing her due diligence in trying to do that. And so we are going to have an Italian Fest here at the Sundial location, and it's going to be March, and I don't know the exact dates, but I think it's 11th and 12th, thank you, so it's Saturday and Sunday. So what that entails is there is live entertainment flown in from Italy. So the Italian Fest is actually something that has been done in Phoenix, and it's been done in Scottsdale, so over the past 3 or 4 years. And so it's a very established event. And so there's no events that they have in the West Valley. So they actually will have the event actually in Scottsdale, and then they will have the week before ours, and then they'll have it here in the West Valley. So it will include all kinds of food booths, live entertainment. There will be jewelry sold and booths selling Italian-based wares. We can have our clubs sell their wares. So if we have a jewelry club here at Sundial, we can do that as well. There will be a cost. The membership will have a discounted cost to that. And if you buy early, it'll be even cheaper, so you can buy in advance. But we're excited. It's a Saturday, and it's on Sunday. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead.
General Manager Cook, what is your policy for retention of employees? What do you do to try to entice them to stay?
So President Okowski, Director Totten. So yes, so that has been one of my, when I started as Director of Finance 4 years ago, that's been one of my objectives is to reduce turnover. And so when I started, we were in the mid to upper 40%. And so the cost of turnover can be anywhere from 10 to 50% of an employee's salary. So cost of training, the cost of getting them hired and such. So some of the things that we're doing is, we've changed our vacation accrual, so people can accrue vacation earlier. We just went through and did an increase to overall wages. So we did a wage analysis of some of the local communities within Arizona, and we're trying to catch up to some of those communities. We increased the match on the 401k. So again, we're slightly behind on with some of the other communities, but we're catching up. And so that is a very big objective of mine and my staff's, and that is part of their key performance indicators, is to reduce turnover to below 40%. And so, I'll give you another one: new uniforms. Right? So one of the greatest questions, most asked questions when I was named GM is, can we do something about the uniforms? I had a new employee get hired, and he said, I went home, my wife laughed at me, I feel like a clown in the old uniform. And so, it's something that I've gotten so many great responses back with our employees wearing these uniforms. They feel proud to wear the uniform. So those are smaller things that we can do to just, help with retention.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. President?
Director Fimmel?
I thought this was going to be an easy day for me. Right? No one.
Do you have a plan? We just went through an increase. Part of that was a new minimum wage process. But what did that do, or what can you do, or is there a problem in terms of new employees getting a certain wage under the new requirements and existing employees whose wages, if they've been here for a very long time, are just very slightly above brand-new people? What can be done?
So President Okowski, Director Fimmel, so we looked at that. We wanted to make sure that those employees that have been here 5 years and greater, we wanted to make sure that the new statutory requirements from a minimum wage perspective didn't all of a sudden now make the minimum wage within 1 or 2% of the people that have been here for 5 or 6 years. So our HR department and Director McCurdy went through and reviewed all of those individuals that have been here, and they looked at where the minimum wage is, and then that those people that were above minimum wage, and we made an adjustment to those folks as well to make sure that they maintained that gap between a minimum wage or somebody who just starts here. So we didn't want somebody who just started here making just as much as somebody who had been here for 5 or 10 years. So we made on January 1st, we made those adjustments, and we've gotten some good feedback from our staff that I think it was a fair adjustment that we made.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Cook.
Director Collins, Vice President.
General Manager Cook. I just wanted to say the new uniforms at the golf course is a major professionalism increase. It really looks good. And the other thing for retention, maybe if some of our employees work here for 10 years, they could get free golf when they retire. Something to look at.
So Director Collins, I think that's a great suggestion, and those are the things. I have staff meetings monthly and management meetings monthly, and we discuss these types of items. So I will definitely bring that up, and if that's something that makes sense, then then we'll do that. I think it's a good suggestion.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, General Manager Cook. Oh, John. And Director Fast.
General Manager Cook, I just want to thank you for the holiday festival. I thought it was fantastic.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, that's I look forward to that every year, and these guys all do such a great job. And we start planning for that in July and August. And I think, given that we didn't have the lake this year, and we, changed completely changed, how we had the carts do the light show, the light parade. I give credit to Director Serino, who completely, changed how we did it, and I think it was a great success. The duck run was great, so the golf team performed well there with Teresa, so thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Again, thank you, General Manager Cook. There are no second reading motions. The next item of business is the approval of the consent agenda items. Should any one of the consent agenda items be removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. A motion made by Director Lanevsky. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Director Fast. Discussion? Go ahead, Director.
So I do just have a question. It seems like I would like to see in a graphical form what the status is of our clubs. So I know several years ago that we said we had 132 chartered clubs, and I would just like to see some data about, maybe what the impact of the pandemic was on that, and perhaps to jumpstart a discussion about how we might be able to reverse what I believe is a declining trend. So would it be possible for us to get that? So just the number of clubs that we've had over the past 10 years and
President Olkowski, Director McAdams, if I could just clarify. So you're looking for the number of clubs that have been dechartered in the last 10 years? Is that what you're looking for?
not dechartered, just the number of clubs that we have, which I assume is a declining number over time.
So you just want to know just
I just
numbers.
like to see, just in a graphical form, what's happening with our clubs, because it's a really critical component of life in Sun City, and if we are noticing a decline over time that is not reversing itself, then it may be that we need to take some action in that regard.
Right, and I would just add that in today's report, we do have the club attendance summary, which does show membership. So you can take a look at membership and see where some of those clubs, the numbers are, getting below where we would like to see them. So that's just some information that you can take a look at as well. But Chris, do you have any issues with that? We can do that. We have that information. Okay, we can do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Vice President Collins?
The one thing that I'm really concerned about is our club, all the membership in our clubs went down with COVID. I mean, we all know that. And I still think that a lot of people have come back, but they're still not willing to go out into the big groups and do things. They're still hearing that people are getting sick. And I'm wondering, is there any way where, without having to decharter them, that there could be some extension, another year or whatever,
Well,
while people get the, I don't know, the security that they can come out in public.
So President Okowski, Director Collins, these two today specifically are at the request of the club. Typically, if they can't get people to volunteer for officer duties, or they don't have enough people to be able to do their 990s, or if they just don't meet and they don't have enough showing up, these are not driven by RCSC, it's driven by the club themselves. And I'm just trying to go on history here. Most of the decharters that we've had have typically been from the club. It's very rarely that we decharter a club. Oh, and that's actually the board that needs to actually do that. And secondarily, I think what we're seeing is maybe a mix too. We have a finite number of members. We're not growing households. So, you know, if you look at pickleball, they've doubled probably in the last 18 months. So we may have people that are just moving to different clubs, and we do have clubs that are growing. And then to answer your question with respect to groups, we just had a concert last night, and Teresa said we almost sold out. So I think the fear is declining, at least from what I can see, just in terms of the events that we hold. If the club requests it, I don't know that we can do anything about that. But I would, you know, I would be open to, if there's a club that is on the verge and they want some time, you know, we can certainly look at that.
Thank you.
thank you. Any other comments? We have a motion made by Director Lenevsky, seconded by Director Fast, to approve the consent agenda as presented. The consent agenda consists of 2 items: the request to approve the decharter of the Sheep's Head Club, which is the request of the club, and the request to approve the decharter of the Cavaliers Club at the request of the club. Now, the second request is not the charter. That club is merging with the Players Community Theater. So it's not leaving us, it's just merging with another club. Any other discussion on those two, the consent agenda? Secretary Totten, would you please take roll?
Thank you. Excuse me. Director McAdam?
Yes.
Director Fimmel?
Yes.
Treasurer Fast?
Yes.
Vice President Collins?
Yes.
Director Lenevsky?
Yes.
Director Lair?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
President Nowakowski?
Yes.
And I vote yes. We have a
9-0.
yes.
The consent agenda is approved as presented. New business. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of the cardholders who signed up to speak on the new business items only.
Mr. President, one person signed up. Oh, there's 2, I'm sorry. Janet Curry and Darla Akins. So when you come up to the podium, state your name and member number, and most importantly, whether you're speaking for or against the motion. You'll have 3 minutes for comments as indicated by the light on the stage.
My name is Janet Curry, 155488. And first of all, I'd like to thank Director Lenevsky for bringing this forward, as he told our committee, our ad hoc bylaws committee, and the membership in December, or whenever it was. And I am in favor of this motion. Our committee was unanimous in support of this. Was it? Okay, I recall it differently. Okay, it was not unanimous. And so, but I want to point out that the petition process for any type of petition that's listed here is not the end of the process. The person or persons have to go and get a petition, have 3,200 or so people sign it, turn it in. Those signatures are verified by RCSC. Then it goes to a ballot. And so that is where the end would be for this. Just because someone turns in a petition doesn't mean that the initiative, the referendum, or the recall has been successful. It goes to a full membership vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Darla Akins.
Good morning. My name is Darla Akins, 54010. And I'm speaking against the motion of changing the words co-chair to vice chair today. I guess I find it interesting that one person comes to the microphone and said that we should change our committee titles to co-chair, from co-chair to vice chair, and Director Collins, your first order of business is to try to make that happen. What I find even more interesting is there are a lot of people that came to the microphone to tell us that we need to move forward with the Mountain View project, if you don't listen to them because you still schedule a planning session to talk about it. I can only assume the purpose of the meeting is to either stop the project or to change it. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the big deal? What's the difference? Anyway, I was just wondering if you bothered to look up the meaning of co-chair and vice chair, or did you just take it and run with it because you will strive to do anything to convince the members that you hear them and that you will do, you are here for them regardless if it has any substance to it or not. Well, contrary to popular belief, when I was on the board, I did listen to the members, and I did my best to represent them. However, everything they suggested did not necessarily mean a change needed to be made. I said all that to say that if you look at the definitions of co-chair and vice chair, you'll see that according to the dictionaries, to all the dictionaries I could find, and the Wikipedia, it states that the vice chair is the person who is second to the chairman. The vice chair is someone who is a member of the committee, board, group, etc., designated as immediately subordinate to a chairman. Our examples are some synonyms of subordinate: smaller, subalternative, submissive, subservient, subtract, under average, unequal. Now, the definition of co-chair is a person who is in charge of a meeting or organization jointly with another or others. Interesting, subordinate versus jointly. I feel as though if you pass this motion, then you'll be in conflict with what you're promoting during your campaign. During your campaign, you stressed that this new board was going to bring the community back together. Instead, I feel as though passing this motion indicates you are trying to create a community of division instead of a community of cohesion. Definition of division: the action of separating something into parts or the process of being separated. Definition of cohesion: the action of or fact of forming a united whole. Creating a divided community or creating a united community starts at the top and starts with you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, everyone that signed up has spoken.
Thank you. First item of business is a motion by Director Lanevsky to amend bylaws Article 9, Section 2, letter B. Director Lanevsky.
Mr. President, I have a motion, but before that, I have a request of the technical people. I'm having problems hearing Director McAdam and Director Totten on the microphone. I'm having no other problems hearing anyone else. That may just be me, but if it's a way to adjust the microphones, I'd appreciate it. Now to my motion. I move to amend bylaws Article 9, titled Initiative, Referendum, and Recall Petition, Section 2, letter B, as follows. Section 2 reads, acceptable practices during the petition circulation. We would strike the current B, which says petitions will not be, and the number 1 under it, circulated within the RCSC facilities except those for RCSC board candidates. We would add a new B, petitions regarding RCSC matters may be circulated within or at all RCSC facilities, properties while not disrupting or interfering with RCSC members' activities or blocking ingress or egress at any facility. That's my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Director Collins. Director Lanevsky, as maker of the motion, would you like to speak on its adoption?
Yeah, very briefly. I spoke extensively about this issue last year, so I'm not going to bore everybody this year. It's really clear as to whether we want, the issue was framed last year as to whether we wanted to allow petitions on property or not. At that point, I said I was for it, although I did not vote for it in an attempt to pass the bylaws. I've had questions regarding enforcement mechanisms. Obviously, if somebody violates it, there are ways to enforce it, like any other violation. That's all I have to say on it. It's been extensively debated already.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to speak in favor of the motion. I think as Janet Curry said, this is a process. It's a well-defined process, and we are dealing with very mature adults, and we know that they will conduct themselves in a manner that reflects positively on RCSC. And providing them the opportunity to gather signatures, if somebody wants to gather, is it 3,800 signatures or however many it is, I think is fundamental to the rights of members. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. President?
Director Fimmel.
I fully support this motion. I voted for this motion when it came up previously. But this motion works in conjunction with 4 other motions, and I'm a little confused and I don't understand. Those 4 other motions passed, but the process failed. So we're bringing back the one piece that didn't pass to the exclusion of the 4 pieces that did pass. And I'm wondering why we didn't just ask for all 5 of the motions to be considered and passed. Just an observation. I do favor this motion.
I would hope that the board gets together and decides what we're going to do with the bylaws as a package, however the board wants to proceed. I certainly hope that it's the board's intent not to kill what was done for a year, but things be brought back however the board decides to do that. I think this is the first, this is changing the existing bylaws, has not to do with the new bylaws. Any other comments? Hearing none. A motion was made by Director Linefsky, seconded by Vice President Collins, to amend bylaws Article 9, entitled Initiative, Referendum, and Recall Petitions, Section 2, Letter B, as follows. Delete Section B, petitions will not be, subparagraph 1, delete circulated within the RCSC facilities except those for the RC board candidates. Insert paragraph B, petitions regarding RCSC matters may be circulated within or at all RCSC facilities/properties while not disturbing or interfering with RCSC member activities or blocking ingress or egress at any facility. That is the motion. Secretary Taunton, would you please take the roll?
President Nowakowski, I think the word was disrupting. Disrupting. Yeah, I think just
not disrupting.
Yeah. Thank you.
Secretary Taunton, please take the roll.
Thank you. Director McAdam?
Yes.
Director Fimmel?
Yes.
Treasurer Fast?
Yes.
Vice President Collins?
Yes.
Director Linefsky?
Yes.
Director Lear?
Abstain.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
I vote yes. President Nowakowski?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 abstain.
The motion passes, and we add it to our bylaws.
Waive second reading.
Director Collins?
I would like to make a motion to waive the second reading on this amendment.
Second.
A motion made by Director Collins, seconded by Director Femmel, to waive our second reading requirement for this motion. Discussion.
I believe that we've heard plenty on this from members, from board members, and we don't need to wait another month to make this final. That's my reason for it.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Secretary Totten, would you take roll on the motion? The motion is to waive, made by Director Collins, seconded by Director Fimmel, to waive our second read requirement and pass this motion on the first-time basis.
Thank you. Director McAdam?
Yes.
Director Fimmel?
Yes.
Treasurer Fast?
Yes.
Vice President Collins?
Yes.
Director Lanevsky?
Yes.
Director Lear?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
I vote yes. President Nowakowski?
Yes. The motion passes 9-0, so it will be included in our current bylaws. The next item of business is a motion by Director Lair to amend the bylaws, Article 5, Section 5. Director Lair.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to amend the bylaws, Article 5, titled Board of Directors, Section 5, titled Meetings of the Board as follows. Meetings of the board shall be held on the days and times as designated by the board, inserting the sentence, "The oath of office shall be administered to newly elected or appointed directors at the first board meeting following the election or appointment." Further in the paragraph, sentence 7, all meetings of the board and crossing out member board and inserting the exchanges, including executive sessions and informational meetings, shall be open and video recorded. Member comments at board meetings will be limited to posted motions. The second paragraph, at least 7 days prior to the meeting, all board meetings excluding executive sessions, special sessions, inserting the words informational meetings and crossing out member board, exchanges and agenda subject to amendment shall be posted in the RCSC facilities and/or RCSC website. Motions made at board meetings excluding executive sessions, special sessions, and crossing off member board exchanges shall be read and passed a minimum of 2 times before finalizing and acted upon unless the readings are waived by a 2/3 majority of the board. Moving down to the next paragraph, crossing off member board and inserting the word "the." Next paragraph, crossing off member board, and the second sentence in that paragraph, member board, crossing that out. Also at the very end, new paragraph, informal informational meetings of the board are held after exchange to identify and resolve issues brought forth at the exchange by the membership. Only directors and RCSC management will attend, except when additional information is needed from other individuals.
A motion made by Director Lair. Is there a second?
I second it.
Discussion? Director Lair?
Yeah, as maker of the motion, the reason this is coming forward is because of the change from the board member to member board, just to call it the exchange, because that's what it truly is. But also as important is to make sure that we are talking about the information meetings that we have, the informational meetings. This was instituted after the bylaws ad hoc committee was put in place. We kind of held off waiting for those changes to be inserted into the new bylaws, and since they weren't passed, Some of the verbiage of the last paragraph of this is taken directly from the ad hoc committee's recommendations.
Thank you, Director Lair. Is there any other discussion? Oh, Secretary?
Yes, thank you. I'm not nitpicking, but you added the word "the" in the, I think it's the second paragraph, before the word exchanges. So, and then I noticed that other places, it's not there. Is it called the exchange, or is it called exchange?
Should be the exchange. I think that was the intent.
The exchange.
So we need to insert "the" in front of
right.
all of the word, wherever exchange is listed.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. President,
Yes.
it is an exchange, so actually could be referred to either way.
Either way?
I didn't hear what you said.
I said that it is an exchange, so it could be referred to either way.
Or an exchange or the exchange. Any other? Director Lanevsky?
No. Oh, wait.
Yes, I'm,
Yeah, I would make a motion to amend. I move to amend the motion to include the same changes in bylaws of Article 5.
A friendly amendment.
What?
Are you making a friendly amendment?
Yeah. I move to amend the motion to include the same changes in bylaws to Article 5 titled Board of Directors, Section 6, Number 8, and the Board Policies, Number 27, titled Standing Committees.
No, that's the next motion.
That's the next motion?
That's the next motion?
Okay.
Okay. Whoops. We missed. All right, Director Fast.
I make a friendly, a motion to make a friendly amendment that we insert the word "the" in front of exchanges in the motion made by Director Lair.
I second.
Okay, hang on a second. Okay, the motion by Director Fast, seconded by Director Lair, is to include the words "the" in front of all places where there is exchanges. We need a vote on that motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, Secretary Totten, would you please take roll on the amended on the amendment first?
Thank you. Treasurer Fast,
Yes.
Director Fimmel,
Yes.
Director Lanevsky,
Yes.
Vice President Collins,
Yes.
Director Lear,
Yes.
Director McAdam,
Yes.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Nowakowski.
Yes, thank you. Now we're back to the original motion, which changes mainly the words member/board to the exchanges and includes wording for our informational meetings, which are done after the exchanges. Any other discussion on that motion? The motion was made by Director Lair, seconded by Director Lanevsky. Yep. Director McAdams.
Yeah, so I find it quite unfortunate that this single motion actually is including subject matter from two completely disparate motions. One is a technicality about what we're going to name that meeting that takes place on the second Monday of each month, and the other is a question about whether we want to allow the board to have closed informational sessions. And it would be much to my liking to separate those out into two separate motions. I'm very much in favor of the first. I have concerns about the second. I understand that it's nice for a board to be able to sit down and talk about things in an informal setting. However, from having attended these meetings, these informational meetings, I think I can assure our membership that the most robust debate that takes place about any of these items takes place in these meetings, and they're closed, they're not video recorded, you're not invited to be part of that, and those debates don't normally take place at the board meeting that you're invited to attend, and that concerns me quite a bit. We had quite a long debate about this over a year ago when there was an attempt to create something similar, and there was an outcry from the membership saying, no, we don't want that to happen. We want this to be transparent. We want to hear what the debates are. We want those debates to be carried out in public. And I think, so I'm just encouraging everybody to understand that these informational sessions, there's no decisions that are made there. We don't vote on anything. But that debate process that takes place, it grieves me that we exclude the membership from being able to be party to that.
Thank you. Director Lanevsky?
I've got to respond. Much as we'd like to have open meetings for everything, this is an over $100 million corporation functioning under the laws of Arizona. There are things that have to be discussed. The board has to be briefed in private. We don't vote on that at that time. We get briefed on issues. To take that away from us, to make everything have to be open where you can't have like that without being able to be briefed properly in a setting that is a business-like setting in a meeting would cause us not to be able to do our fiduciary duties. So although I'm voting for this motion, I can't express my disagreement more with one of the directors.
Thank you. At one of these sessions, I even tried to take a board consensus on which direction to go, and it was very nicely pointed out that we can't do that. So there is no decisions that are made. There is no even board consensus that it's made at those. It's an informational meeting to go over the points that the members bring up at the exchange and bring them forth with some response, whatever those responses might be. Director Nichols.
Yes, Mr. President and Board of Directors, there is really nothing in this that would stop us from having or presenting any debatable items and at the board meeting. So, I mean, I feel very comfortable with this as far as, I mean, if I'm vehemently opposed to something, when it comes to the public meeting, I can present my opposition at that time, and this does not preclude that from stopping. Thank you.
Vice President Collins.
Thank you, President. For 2 years, I have been wanting to be able to sit down and find out things as a board, what's going on. And we haven't been able to do that. When you ask me a question, I might as well go ask somebody out there for the answer, because usually they know it before I do. And that's because we haven't been able to sit down as a board and talk with management about this stuff. I can't answer your questions if I'm not informed. And the best way to be informed is to allow us to talk to management as a board. Then we bring things back to you. We can argue. We can, hear your point, hear our point, and come up with a decision. But we have to be able to meet with one another and as a board and with management. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Director McAdams, do you want to try to change the motion and split the two, or should we proceed in the direction we're going?
Actually, there's even a third item in here about when the oath of office is administered. I guess I would just say that in the future, I think we should handle motions about particular subject as individual ones, but I'm okay with moving forward now with what we have.
Thank you. A motion was made by Director Lair, seconded by Director Lanevsky, Do I have to read that whole thing again? Oh, thank you. Secretary Totten, would you please take roll?
Thank you. Treasurer Fast.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director Lenevsky.
Yes.
Vice President Collins.
Yes.
Director Lear.
It's Lair, and yes.
Excuse me,
No
Lear.
problem.
Director McAdam.
No.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
I vote no. President Nowakowski.
Yes.
7 yes, 2 no.
The motion passes.
Mr. President,
Next, yes.
I would move to waive the second reading.
Second.
There is a motion by Director Lenevsky, seconded by Director Fimmel to waive the second read on this motion. Is there any discussion? Director McAdam.
Yes, I would very much hope that we would not waive this reading, simply because I don't believe that any of our members have been aware of what the import of this decision is. They have had no chance to speak into this at all. Let's give them a chance to come back in February and let us know what they think about this.
And Director Lenevsky.
Very briefly in rebuttal. Openness has been discussed from before I was elected to the board. This thing has been thoroughly discussed. I would like to be able to move on and get beyond all the arguments that we've had. Everybody knows what the issue is, and everybody had a chance to look at the motion. And I stand for wanting to waive the second reading. Thank you.
President Nowakowski?
Yes, Director McAdam.
So I believe I have to direct only you, but I would like to ask the question, because the statement has been made that this has been thoroughly discussed. Do we have dates when this has been actually discussed by the membership?
Mr. President, can I respond?
Yes, please.
This has been discussed so often in so many meetings, including bylaw meetings and discussions on the bylaws and exchanges of what we want as a general principle, that I couldn't name all the meetings, nor am I going to go back and look at it. If others out there don't believe we've discussed openness, that's their prerogative, and they should vote no on the waiving the second reading. I, for one, think we've done a lot.
President Nowakowski?
Yes.
Could I ask you to poll the members who are here whether they would like to have a chance to speak on this?
Mr. President, weren't people offered an opportunity to speak on today's motions?
Yes.
If they elected not to do so, that was their choice.
No, we only had
Understood what it meant.
2. Okay, slow down, guys. Let's slow down. One at a time. Otherwise, I get way confused. Okay, Director Fimmel is next.
No, I'm done.
No, Director Totten was first. Yeah. Oh, Director Lair.
I'm sorry, I did raise my hand right away. This has been brought up in discussion. It has been brought up at board meetings. I believe in 2020, 2021, 2022, we've talked about the need to have this. It's been a long issue. Historically, there were work sessions of the board immediately following the board member exchange, but there was consensus voting in there, which really was against our bylaws, and so those were removed. And then there was this gap, which Director Collins has talked about. I know that Director Collins and I have talked about this for more than 2 years. It has been a discussion of a need to have some type of a meeting of the board informally where there is no voting, no consensus taken, but just a sharing of information. So I would say ad nauseum at this point.
Director Collins?
And like I said earlier, for 2 years, you've been hearing me ask for this. So I know that there's people who remember me asking. Thank you.
Director Totten?
Yes, thank you. This is called robust discussion. I think the members want to see that. I don't see why we couldn't make allowances, and that's why I'm going to vote no.
Any other discussion?
I do have one other thing.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. I don't think our members were aware, excuse me, I'm not positive that all of the members present were aware of what the final paragraph meant when they picked up the motions in the paperwork.
Any other discussion? All right, we have a motion made by Director Lanevsky, seconded by Director Fimmel, to waive the second read. The motion passed. We are waiving the second read.
We got to vote,
yes.
No, we voted to pass the thing on the first reading. We're just waiting a second.
We're voting on the second read now. Yes. Secretary Totten, would you please read, take roll on the second read waiving?
Thank you. Treasurer Fast?
Yes.
Director Fimmel?
Yes.
Director Lanevsky?
Yes.
Vice President Collins?
Yes.
Director Lear?
There? Yes.
So noted.
Yep.
Director McAdam?
No.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
I vote no. President Nowakowski?
Yes.
7
The
yes.
second reading has been waived on a vote of 7-2. Next item of new business is a motion by Vice President Collins to amend bylaws Article 10, Sections 3 and 5.
I move to amend the bylaws, Article 10, titles Committees, Sections 3 and 5 as follows. Section 3, Committee Chair, and scratch co, and replace with Vice Chair. All committees shall have a Board of Director as Chair and a scratch co Vice Chair who shall be approved by the Board in January of each year. If a chair or scratch co, add vice, chair is unwilling or incapacitated of satisfactorily performing the responsibilities, they may be removed from his or her position as chair or scratch co, add vice, chair by a ballot vote of the majority vote of the board. 5. The committee chair and scratch co, add vice chair shall conduct committee meetings unless unavailable, then another board director may do so. The committee chair or scratch co, add vice chair, in the absence of the chair, shall be responsible for presenting committee recommendations to the board. Section 5, members of the committee responsibilities. The committee members are expected to attend all committee meetings, review materials in advance of the meetings, participate in the meetings, and meet as frequently as necessary to discharge properly the committee's responsibilities. All standing committees will select a secretary annually who will prepare a summary of the committee meeting and submit it to the corporate office within 3 days after the committee meeting. If the secretary is not present, the chair or scratch co, add vice chair will appoint a secretary for the meeting.
Is there a second? Director Lanevsky?
President Nowakowski, I'll second it, but then I have a friendly amendment.
Okay. Motion was made by Director Collins, seconded by Director Lanevsky. Do we want to do discussion prior to? I think the amendment is critical before we do discussion.
I do too. Mr. President, this is am I recognized?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Mr. President, this is a technical amendment. I move to amend the motion to include the same changes in bylaws to Article 5, titled Board of Directors, Section 6, Number 8, and Board Policy Number 27, titled Standing Committees.
A motion is made by Director Linefsky. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Director Collins. When this was written up, what happened is we missed some of the wording in our other sections. So the amendment takes the wording and adds it to the other sections of our bylaw and our articles. So, Director Linefsky, you've got the floor first for the amendment.
Okay. Basically, the amendment's just technical to make things consistent. I'll have my comments on the actual motion after when we begin to discuss that.
Okay. Any other discussion on the amendment first? Hearing none. Secretary Totten, would you please take roll? This is a motion. Oh, Bill? Sorry.
President Nowakowski, Board of Directors, I would just respectfully ask, every time we make a change to the bylaws, or and now it's bylaws and board policy, staff needs to make those changes, and it takes hours of Marcia's time and Jolene's time to update the website and such. And so I'm not shirking responsibility. Where I think bylaws need to be changed, I'm all for it. But I Googled vice versus co, and it does say that they are interchangeable without materially affecting the functionality of either one of the positions. So I'd ask, just to save some time on this particular change, that we not vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Secretary Totten?
Yes, I'd like to speak about what General Manager Cook said. I tend to agree with him. We have a lot of changes ahead of us for the bylaws. We haven't yet discussed when we're going to go about them. I think it is an inordinate amount of time for the staff. And so I'd like to wait, if we could, and try to make more at one time on some of these minor items.
Mr. President, is that a motion to postpone?
Yeah, Director Lair.
Okay. I went back and watched on December 5th, 2022, we had our exchange meeting, and at the 1 hour, 43-minute portion of the film, I went back and watched that 3 times about this motion. There was a lot of confusion at the time. I don't know if any of you have gone back and actually looked at it, but Mr. Roloff came up and he talked about, that we were co-chairs, that was there a chair and a co-chair, or are there just co-chairs? I don't think there was, he's not here today for clarification, so I'm not quite even sure what he wanted, because he changed his direction several times during the conversation. I didn't understand if he wanted both people to be equals at the meeting, or if he wanted a distinct difference between one or the other. It wasn't very clear. Even though he asked questions, we answered them, but he still said, well, he wanted this word put in there. So I think it's a lot of semantics, personally, but that's my opinion. I would encourage board members to watch that 1 hour, 43 minutes of the December 5th, 2022 exchange meeting.
Any other discussion? Director Linefsky.
Yeah, very briefly. When I was practicing law, when there was confusion as to what a word meant, we tried to clarify it. I know from talking to numerous people that some people think co-chairs are equal. I and others think that it really means a vice chair. I think we just need to clarify it. It's not a major change, whatever this board wants, but you run into trouble when people understand a word differently. And in this case, people are understanding the word differently.
Director Nichols?
Well, first of all, I'm a little confused because I think we should be talking about the amendment first.
Yes.
And so it's a point of order, and I guess then we can talk about the change.
You are correct. We have a motion and a second for the amendment, which adds other areas where the words are being changed from co to vice. So that is the motion that is before us first. And we still need a Secretary Taunton, please take the roll on the amendment.
Thank you. Director Linefsky?
Yes.
Director Fimmel?
No.
Vice President Collins?
No.
Director McAdam?
I'm sorry, I'm too confused. I'm going to abstain.
Treasurer Fast?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
I vote no. Director Lair?
Yes.
President Nowakowski?
I'll vote yes. That was on the amendment. Now we need the discussion going back to the original motion, which is changing the words code to vice.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
with everything that's gone on here today, I would like to remove the motion.
Withdraw the motion.
Withdraw the motion.
I second.
The motion was made to withdraw the motion, seconded by Director Fast. Any discussion? Hearing none, a vote is in order. A motion to withdraw, made by Vice President Collins, seconded by Director Fast.
Okay. Director Linefsky?
I'll reluctantly vote yes to the motion to withdraw.
Director Fimmel?
Yes.
Vice President Collins?
Yes.
Director McAdam?
Yes.
Treasurer Fast?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
President Nowakowski?
Yes.
Director Lair?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Suspended.
That was a long time to get there. The motion passes to withdraw the motion. Two announcements. Directors, do we have any comments from committees or liaison reports?
Mr. President,
Yes, Director Fimmel.
I would like to offer an end-of-year report for the Technology Committee. I would have wanted to do this at the end of December, but I gave an update with regard to status of the IT at that meeting, so I'd like to do the end-of-year report here if you don't have any objection. The committee, the Technology Committee is submitting the following annual report to the RCSC Board of Directors, highlighting accomplishments and recommendations as a result of its 2022 efforts. Some of the major accomplishments are as follows. Collaborated with the IT office to establish an IT infrastructure modernization program. 2, consulted on development of a phased approach for funding of the IT infrastructure. As we know, Phase 1 was $500,000 and is in the process of being completed. Funding for Phase 2 in the amount of $500,000 has been approved. And Phase 3, of course, is adding IT as a line item on the budget for 2024. Recommended additional IT staffing, which was added. and presentation of a cybersecurity overview roadmap. The Technology Committee is also making the following recommendations for RCSC Board of Directors consideration in the future. One is the establish parameters for web development and design to include funding in 2023 and provide inclusion for this function in the IT program line item in the 2024 budget. Number two, research and develop a social media presence for use by RCSC, its members and potential members. Number three, continue to assess current and future IT program enhancements and improvements in 2023. And four, review and revise the purpose statement of the Technology Committee to ensure it remains consistent with the continuing changes and advances in technology and offer the best technology opportunities for the RCSC and its members. The Technology Committee looks forward to the Board of Directors' input to these recommendations. Be signed by me on behalf of the committee. And I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to thank the committee's members for the hard work they have done since the committee was established and the efforts they will have to undertake in the future. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Director Allaire.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I would appreciate if there's committee recommendations, if that recommendation could be included in our packet so that I can look at the information in detail. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Or a report. Sun City's moniker, City of Volunteers, is well represented at the Books Around the Corner in the Sun City Branch Library at Bell. Just like the Prides, the Posse, and all the club's volunteers, we so appreciate all they give to their neighbors and their community. This year, I was named the liaison to the Friends of the Library. I was warmly welcomed at my first meeting and couldn't have asked for a better suited to me group to be assigned to, as I'm a voracious reader. I'm closing with a tidbit. The bookstore is open from 9:30 to 3:30 Monday through Saturday, and all proceeds from their sales are used to support the 2 branch libraries. Happy reading, happy shopping. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? As long as we still have time, several committees are looking for volunteers within the committees. Anybody have any interest in joining any of the committees, please talk to a board member and we can get your name and address and pass them on. Also, our Properties Committee is also looking for people to work through the properties function that we have, which is kind of a inspection of facilities that is brought forth and letting management know things that need to be taken care of. Both of that committee is also looking for volunteers. We can have some training classes to help that out. Anybody else? New business. New business.
Yes. I want to try and get something with all the clubs. If you're going to have something coming up, an event, please let us know ahead of time so we can get it on these, both the members meeting and here. It'll be on the YouTube to get you more attendance at your meetings. Also, even if it's Showa doing a shred-a-thon or anything that benefits the clubs or our community as a whole, please let's get it out there as much as we can. And we'll maybe try and work on even getting some of this stuff on the marquees for more advertising for our clubs to get more people involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, the next member of the exchange, as it's just been changed, is on February the 13th at 9 a.m. in the Sundial Auditorium. The next meeting of the Board of Directors will be February 23rd at 9 a.m. in the Sundial Auditorium. There being no other business and without objection, this meeting is adjourned. Please remember to turn on your cell phones. Thank you very much.
This is a copyrighted production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.